I told her I'd never fall in love, but now I know better. Lastly, we're at part number 3, and we start off in 1988 with the Heartbreak Tour, and they are performing If It Isn't Love, Why Do I Feel This Way? Why does she stay on my mind? That's my song too. And then next we are at the Every Little Step I Take, you will be there. Every little step I make, we'll be together. We're at that video shoot, and we see that Bobby Brown's barber wasn't paying attention and accidentally gave him the Gumby, which is really a funny, quirky part of the story, which is hilarious. The barber, I don't know his name, but he's very annoying to me. Oh, it's annoying. But on the tour, we have New Edition, we have Bobby Brown, and we have Al B. Sure. I like some of Al B. Sure's stuff. So anyways, we see Bobby performing before New Edition, and Bobby is taunting them. Al B. Sure is getting all insecure about having to perform between Bobby and New Edition, and they're like, you know, you'll do fine. And then Bobby is like, well, we can switch around the order of the show so that somebody won't have to perform here and there and this and there. And the guys are just not here for Bobby. They're like, you can't make those kind of calls. We have all of our stuff together. It's just not gonna work with you trying to call the shots. But then he was like, you know, maybe I can even come out on stage to perform some of the songs that we used to sing together. And they were like, nope. And Bobby was like, well, who's gonna perform my part? And they're like, the dude that replaced you, Johnny. He's like, even with your pipes, you can't compare to me. And it's like, dude, you were just taunting them, and you expect them to allow you to get on stage with them and not show your behind, and not try to, you know, take over the scene and all that kind of stuff. It's not gonna happen, Bobby. But whatever, you're not in the group anymore. It reminds me of that part one, what's the name of that movie? Mean Girls. She doesn't even go here. Like, Bobby, you're not even in the group anymore. But anyways, they are in Washington, D.C., and they're performing You're Not My Kind of Girl. Now, that song I actually didn't know before I actually watched this program, but I'm sorry. I feel like I'm gonna start listening to it now because it sounds like a good song. But anyways, the performance was good. And this is the end of this particular tour. So Ricky points to Ralph and Johnny. He's like, those dudes are gonna make it. But then Mike says, you know, and we not? But Ricky, you know, knew that he wasn't going to do anything solo on his own. He was just being supportive of the other two stronger voices in the group. But Bibb didn't want to be like, you know, you can't count us out because we, you know, have the potential to be successful as well. And next thing you know, we see 5 dudes come up to what's his name? We see 5 dudes come up to Michael Bivins, and they're like, we just want to sing for you. And they sing one of the New Edition songs, and they do a good job, but I hate that their voices sounded auto-tuned. I wish it was more authentic. I was like, they can't be Boyz II Men because there's 5 of them. But when they introduced themselves, I was like, okay, yeah, that's Boyz II Men. He wanted them to call him, and, you know, so he can get that career popping, which he did a great job. But this is the end of tour party for the Heartbreak Tour, and it's 1989, and you know, Brooke Payne is making a speech about the success of the tour for both New Edition and Bobby. And then Bobby decides to do his, you know, solo act thing again, and he's like, well, yeah, I started New Edition, so both these cakes are for me. And he takes a big chunk full of New Edition's cake and then Bobby's cake as well, and people just kind of brush it off because, hey, it's Bobby. And then Bobby goes over to Johnny Gill and hands him the plate like, hey, hold this for me, buddy. And he takes the champagne. So Gerald and Johnny talk about Johnny's future with his own solo career. Now, come to find out, Gerald is no longer the head of MCA. He is going to be the head of Motown now. And Johnny has some questions about how this is going to work out with me putting out my album on Motown. Now, it sounded fishy to me, but you know, we all know what happened to Johnny's career. It did well at that point. So Terry and Jimmy make a suggestion about Ronnie, Ricky, and Mike making their own group. And he was like, y'all three can do your own thing on your own. And I was like, well, it makes sense that the three least talented guys in the group come together to form a group, because each one of them on their own probably wouldn't have been able to have a career. And we got one of the best songs ever out of it, so it worked. Anyways, we see Ralph next, and Ralph is upset about his solo career because all of the promises that were made to him by Gerald kind of are no longer in effect now that Gerald is no longer the head of MCA and is moving on to Motown. He's saying that there's no way that I can do the things that I was planning on doing with the solo album that I've already recorded, because Bobby has already done that stuff. And the record executive was like, hey, I mean, you have to record something new because you can't compete with Bobby with the stuff that you recorded previously. So Ralph was just really upset about that. Zena was getting on my nerves, kind of throwing everything in his face like, I told you to go solo when Bobby went solo. And I'm like, Zena, shut, girl. But next we see Bobby. And Bobby is feeling lonely because he sees how well the other guys are getting along. And Bobby was feeling lonely because the brotherhood he had with the group is no longer there because Bobby's a butthole. And I mean, them being on tour together could have been a good time for them to bury the hatchet and to all get along again. But, you know, Bobby being, you know, drug addicted and drunk, you know, didn't have the good sense to do so. But anyways, we see the Poison video shoot. Poison, never trust a big button to smile, that girl is poison. Never trust a big button to smile, that girl is poison, deadly, moving in slow, looking for a mellow though like DeVoe, getting paid late, so better like wow. That is my song, y'all. We see that they are doing a video solo interview with somebody named Sherry Carter. Don't know her significance, but all 6 of the members of New Edition are there. That is Bobby, Ricky, Ronnie, Mike, Johnny, and Ralph. So they are all there. And at this point in time, almost everyone in the group has had their own type of break off success from, you know, New Edition. So we have Ralph getting in his feelings about the host asking a BBD question, and Mike was being a little bit of a butthole, and he was like, you know, I have my group ABC, I have my group Boyz II Men, you know, if you need any help, Ralph, you just let me know. And I was like, oh, that was a little butthole move, Mike, but whatever. And then they show a video for You Need a Man with Sensitivity. Yeah, I like Sensitivity too. I don't know all the words, but I do love that song. And so next we see Bobby teasing about he's always felt like he's been a member of the group. But and then we see a video for Johnny Gill. You got me saying ma 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 ma. You sure look good tonight. Y'all, Mama is a good song, but my favorite Johnny Gill song is Can You Feel the Magic in My Hands When I Touch and Rub You the Right Way? That's my favorite Johnny Gill song. And you know what other song that they didn't play in this movie that I liked? It was by Belle Biv DeVoe. Is When Can I See You Smile Again? Tell me when will I see you smile again? 'Cause you know I messed up, baby, and you know I'm bad, I'm sugar. It's my song. But anyways, the overarching theme is that we have these little branches of New Edition that are all doing well at the same time, and that they're all gonna come back together to do an album. And Ralph is like, oh, it's coming soon. And next thing we know, it's 6 years later. So they are at the Home Again album shoot in 1996. Apparently Ralph's mom has passed away. Ricky is drinking and dropping pills into drinks like a musician. He pulled them pills out of nowhere. It was like bloop and made them disappear. But Ricky was like, yeah, we need this album. And I'm like, you know, he probably having financial issues, but whatever. They do the album cover, and Bobby Brown is out of it. He's barely present. He's falling asleep or being high or something during the photo shoot, but whatever. So next we see the dudes pull up in 4 different tour buses, and every single person has an entourage with them. And this is when we hear Mr. Brooke spill all the tea about what's really going on with each of the members in the group. So here it goes. We have everyone except for Bobby and Mike are broke and in debt. Worse than broke, being in debt. There we go. All of their second albums from their side projects failed. They're all stunting because at this point in the music industry in 1996 or 1997, it's all about bling, being a baller, being very showy, and being very flashy. They stay in 5-star hotels. They fly themselves and their entourages first class. And as we can see, some of them had entourages of like 10 people. And it's like, do you know how much money it costs for you and 10 people to fly first class? And it's like, they already know the deal that money for those expenses and stuff comes out of the money that they get at the end of the project. So they should know that they don't need to be doing all that, but whatever. They don't get any money for this tour until after the 13th show, and it's like, it's for sure they're not gonna make it to 13, because 1, 13 is an unlucky number, and 2, it's even more unlucky if Bobby Brown is in the mix. But anyways, they did not rehearse, and Bobby barely showed up to the rehearsals. So Brooke said that they were more professional during Candy Girl than they were right now as grown men. And I was like, oh, this is gonna be a disaster. Because like I said, I didn't necessarily grow up with New Edition, but I also didn't keep up with them in the news. So I had no idea how things were gonna turn out with all this tour or whatever. So they're on tour, they're all drinking in the dressing room. I don't think you're supposed to drink before the show. I don't think that's healthy, but whatever. Bobby is not there because he has the flu. And there are 9 shows in. Ronnie lets us know that of those 9 shows, Bobby has missed 4, and he hasn't participated in any of the promotional things besides being on Oprah. So they do the show. Bobby comes in after the show is over and says, hey, let's do this. And they're like, you missed it, all of it. And I'm like, he ain't got the flu. Did anybody else put 2 and 2 together and was like, this dude ain't sick? But next thing you know, the crowd starts calling for Bobby, and Bobby is like, it's time for me to go on. And they're over it. They're really over it. But next we see Ricky snorting coke. And while he's snorting coke, he's watching TV that's saying that New Edition took a break from the tour so that Bobby could ask his judge to allow him to go to the Billboard Awards with his wife, Whitney Houston, even though he's on probation. So Ricky's girlfriend or wife, her name's Amy, she comes in, and you know, he trying to hide his drug abuse from her, but she knows what's going on. She's like, oh, your nose is still running. Oh, you've been sick for a long time. She's over it, but you know, she ain't gonna leave him. It's Ricky Bell. But and she loves him. But now they're back on the tour, and they're in Las Cruces, New Mexico in 1997, and this is where everything comes back full circle to the beginning of the movie. And I was like, you guys did a good job, BET. But we see Bobby being Bobby, and he's like, oh, they giving me, you know, the little signal that it's time for me to go, but I don't want to go because it's my prerogative. And so when he starts performing again and, you know, humping the air and whatnot, he's eating away at the time for the rest of the groups to perform. Ronnie goes on stage and he's like, who's ready for some BBD? And Bobby is not happy with that. And so the rest of BBD comes out on stage and they are dancing up Poison. Woo! They should have been singing Bobby as Poison. But Bobby runs to try to get the emergency hose to spray them off stage like this is 1965 at some civil rights march. You ain't finna hose me nowhere. The hose doesn't work. The hose doesn't work. And so a fight breaks out with entourages and bodyguards, and everybody is fighting. And next thing you know, a gun is shot, and Mike almost gets shot, but he does the Matrix to avoid the bullet. I thought that was funny. And the bullet doesn't hit anyone, praise the Lord. But we see Brooke falling in the hallway because this man is having a heart attack because these fools don't know how to act. So Brooke is having a heart attack, and one of the members of BBD finds him. I couldn't tell who it was on the little tape they were showing, but one of them finds him and they have to call an ambulance for him. And you know, everybody is upset. The guys who were not there come in and they're like, what's going on? Oh, you know, Brooke is having a heart attack. And this is where everything blows up. Now, in these situations, things can get really bad to where everybody starts pointing a finger, which is what happened, or things can go really well where everyone realizes, hey, we need to stick together. But you know, this wouldn't be a good story if everything turned out all hunky-dory. So what ends up happening is that Bobby wants to know what's happening. And Ronnie says, you started the brawl that started it all. You were the reason he had a heart attack because you caused that little melee out there. Now Bobby flips it on Ronnie and says, you're the one who started it because you interrupted my one-man show. And everyone is just fighting. And Ronnie says that when you do show up, it's all about you. Okay, I'm sick of it. You've been doing this since we was young. I'm tired of it. Y'all need to stop babying this dude. And Ronnie leaves and he says, I'm through. I'm done. Okay. And then Bobby gets back on his high horse and he was like, I did this tour so I could help y'all out. And they were like, excuse me? And Johnny was very upset and he was like, you ain't done nothing for me. And Bobby was like, you better watch who you talking to. And so Bobby says, New Edition died on the day I left. You were kicked out, but whatever. And he said, your New Edition can stay dead. And so Bobby leaves. So Ralph decides to leave too. And he kind of bumps Mike. Mike is like, oh, it'll be easy for you to leave, Ralph. And Ralph said, if that were true, your career would have died 10 years ago. And I was like, get him, Ralph, get him. Mike just has this little beef with Ralph, and he's obsessed with letting Ralph know we don't need you. So anyways, Ricky is clearly the only one that's worried about money. And Mike says, what are you trying to, you know, go on with? We're not a group anymore. Now, in real life, I read that everyone except for Mike and Bobby continued with the tour in real life, but we don't see that here. But the tour is eventually over, and Ricky is on the phone with a creditor or something asking for an extension, and basically Ricky is in debt up to his knees. MCA filed a lawsuit against New Edition because they didn't complete, you know, their contract with them to finish out the tour. They are garnishing his publishing to recoup those losses on the canceled tour, and Ricky is broke, worse than broke, in debt. And so Ricky So his wife is telling him, why can't you go to the other guys? And he's like, no, I definitely can't. I definitely can't go with the guys. I don't have any marketable skills. Okay? And they're losing the house. So next we see Gil doing a little radio interview for the group LSG. Now, I only know one song by LSG, which is LSG is Levert, Sweat, and Gil, and all three of them came together to do this little group. But your body on my yours on mine. That's my impression of Keith Sweat. It's your body. That's a really good song though. But they ask questions, of course, and he says, you know, New Edition is on hiatus. Next we see Ronnie, who's getting into real estate, and he's being shamed by other people in the real estate class, and he's like, oh, we didn't know he, sank this low. We see Mike again. Mike is probably the only one that we can say is actually successful out of the members of the group, and we see that he has now become a record executive who's doing the same thing to other artists that, you know, basically Gary and Gerald did to New Edition, and Maurice, so that sucks. But next we see Ralph, and Ralph is getting a divorce from Zena, and I'm like, thank goodness. That girl was poison. She was asking for the house, the car, the kids, and the dog. I want it all. And Ralph was like, you can have it. And I was like, oh, was it that bad that he just gave up that easily? And yeah, I was ready for Zena to be gone, thank the Lord. Okay, so we have Ricky, and we hear him vomiting his guts out, and his wife wakes up, or girlfriend, whoever she is, his wife wakes up, and she's like, Ricky, what the heck? We see blood, we see, I don't know what that was, whatever vomit it was, and she has to call the police, and next thing we know, he's in a Addicts Anonymous meeting talking about all the problems that he has. He's been addicted to coke, oxy, codeine, alcohol, but he says, I'm really here because I'm addicted to a feeling that I will never get back again. And you know, there's some people who do one thing for their whole lives, and when that thing comes to an end, they don't know what to do with themselves. And I think that was just the situation with Ricky, and it was really sad that it drove him to do drugs and to drink, but he recovered from what we saw in the movie and what, you know, we know in real life. So next we get back to Ronnie, and he's back to planning a wedding. And to me at first it seemed like Ronnie was worried about money, about them putting so much money into the wedding, but later on we find out it's also a matter of him not having any groomsmen, him not being on terms with the rest of, not being on good terms with the members of New Edition, kind of makes him feel like, you know, why are we getting married with no groomsmen? I guess, I don't know. He says, you know, we're great together, but we can't get it together. But apparently he talks to everyone and invites them, because at the wedding we see all of them show up. For the first person to come in is Bobby, and he's not even drinking alcohol. And Bobby admits that he, you know, has been acting a fool and really has been the downfall or the thorn in the side of New Edition. We see Johnny, Ricky, and Ralph show up. And then next we see Mike come in, and Mike speaks to everybody but Ralph. And I never understood Mike's beef with Ralph. I never understood that. But Ralph does talk to Mike, and they exchange niceties a little bit. But next thing you know, Brooke shows up, and it's a full-blown reunion, y'all. And so Ralph and Mike are at the wedding, and they talk about Mike getting married next, and they have a real conversation. Mike apologizes for you know, springing Johnny on Ralph and not telling Ralph that they were getting a new member. And Mike acknowledged that New Edition would be nothing without Ralph, and Ralph was like, you know, I used to feel like I did all the work and all that kind of stuff, but it's not like that. All of us make up New Edition, and it wouldn't be anything without either of us. And so he said, you know, I love to do the solo album because I feel like it was every man for himself. But they had a really good conversation, and Ralph had a new girl or new wife, and everything was all good between them. And so Brooke does a toast to the happy couple and New Edition, and Ronnie sings Candy Girl to the new bride, which I thought was super cute. And this old dude, who apparently is a BET executive, which makes sense because I've seen him at every like BET live performance thing, like the BET Awards or the Soul Train Awards. I see him in the audience and I'm like, who is that dude? But it's him, and he asked if New Edition can perform at the 25th anniversary of BET, and Brooke was like, well, you better get in there while they're still getting along. So we see them at the BET 25th anniversary special, and the special, this scene where they're performing for the special, rounds out everything. They show little clips, little scenes from the beginning of the show about how they all came together, and they're performing all their hits. And I didn't remember if I had actually seen that performance, but I went back to actually look at it, and they actually did pretty good with the dance moves, even though everybody was like pushing 40 at that time. Now the vocals were not as crisp or clear as we saw the actors perform them as, but they did do a good job with the dances, and it was a good performance. Now Bobby comes out and he sings his song, and the whole thing, you just reeked of cohesiveness and love, and it had a happy ending. So I am super happy with the production of this, and I would definitely watch it again. Thank you guys for watching my review. I thoroughly enjoyed the entire show. Was super happy that it had a happy ending. Everything about it reeked of quality, and I'm so happy about that. And again, big ups to BET for doing something that we're actually excited to see. And New Edition has been trending all over. I think it's a wonderful thing when some of the older music can be revived through certain things. So I feel like people who maybe previously didn't listen to New Edition or forgot about New Edition were kind of made more aware of it, and I think that's super cool. But thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions or comments, if you want to talk about what you thought of the movie, if you liked it, if you didn't like it, if I forgot to mention something that you thought was important, just let me know below in the comment section. Thank you guys for watching, and peace out, home slices.